It is free.
Well, yeah, but the best things in life are free, aren't they?
Well,
Come on, Vinny.
Everything is free,
After all
man.
the fucking tropes we went over last time,
Everything is free,
That's
man.
over the line.
Everything is free, man.
Excuse me.
Nothing has a price.
I mean, if you want to operate that way, Vinny.
Yeah, everything's free.
That's up to you.
Everything's free for me.
Oh boy! All right, I think we should start.
All right, yeah, let's do it.
If you're listening in, welcome to episode 2 of the. Did we agree on a name?
Thinking sideways, right?
Okay. All right. We actually did agree on that. Yeah, we're gonna call the show "Thinking Sideways." No idea why. I think it just popped into my mind.
It sounds nice.
Yeah, it's like, shit can go sideways,
Yeah,
and that's what we're gonna be thinking.
as it always does. Yeah.
As it always does, because we may be starting on one thing, but God knows we're not gonna end up on.
We're gonna end, but we're always gonna try and come full circle.
Yeah. Keyword being try. If you're listening, wait, no, I don't want to say that because then I have to cut it later. Whatever. This is WVOU, the voice of Ursinus. If you're listening in, get ready for some shit. Is all I can say. Because today's topic, last time we had a fairly direct question that we started from. Today it's more topical. Today's topic is conspiracy theories, and we could spend the entire time talking about the psychology of it, just get a wide swath of conspiracy theories in general. But we decided to pick 3 conspiracy theories that are you've probably heard of them, but they're definitely a varying levels of I don't know, how would you call it, seriousness.
Yeah.
Definitely different levels of seriousness.
Yes,
and
for sure.
I think we're gonna try and start off with the more comedic ones.
Okay.
Shall we say?
Okay.
And then work on to probably one of the most commented on and serious conspiracy theories of all time. Yeah. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. For conspiracy theory number 1, Alex Jones, they're turning the frogs gay. So
Ben, is there any truth? Is there any truth to frogs being turned gay from chemicals in water?
You know what? Instead of, I could go ad infinitum. Well, not really, for a long time. Anyways, on the veracity of Alex Jones's statement. However, it just so happens that some diligent archivist decided to record just that segment, and when he said, like, I don't know, a minute prior, and then up until when he said it, and then 10 seconds following. So let me just find it real quick.
It's possibly one of the funniest clips of all time, I think.
It's pretty good. Well, for some reason it's not popping up. It's weird. It pops up when I Google it.
See, like, it's so funny because he goes on these rants, and you can tell that there's not a shadow of doubt in his mind that he believes it.
Oh, he is fully convinced of everything he said.
He is absolutely convinced.
There's very little that he couches with, like, skepticism, like, or self-doubt.
Everything he says is 100% in confidence and just ranting and just... Oh my God!
All right, here we go.
If you're a new listener, just type in Pentagon tested gay bomb.
Well, they're playing.
They consider. No,
wait. Let me
okay,
back
hold on.
it.
Pause it. All right. Yeah. So let's discuss this first. Okay. First, he's talking about gay bombs.
Yeah. Wait. Let's contextualize this a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. So I can't believe anyone listening to this would not know what we're talking about already. But in the rare instance that you're one of the few people alive with access to the internet and who does not know about this. Back in 2015, Alex Jones, who is now, I believe, removed from just about
YouTube,
just about all forms of social media, in fact, besides maybe Facebook.
Basically, the only thing he has left is his own website. That's it.
Yeah, so the guy's kind of been erased, in a sense.
Yeah.
we're not here to disagree or argue whether or not that was just, but the guy is a living meme. And that's kind of why, if you don't know who he is, or at least the frogs part,
or like
you're living under a
you've
rock.
at least heard of him.
You've probably heard of him in some manner. But anyways, back in 2015, when he still had all his social media up,
specifically YouTube was like his like biggest thing.
Oh he was huge. Yeah. But back then he had this show. I think he still does, but you need to tune into his website. But he has this show, and he's one of these it really grinds my gears kind of guys,
and he gets really angry,
but taken to the most extreme display of aggression. Not necessarily. I can't tell if it's directed towards. It's probably directed towards someone or something.
Yeah.
But it's just him sitting in his seat, kind of going as red in the face as you can get without actually bursting a blood vessel. And the conspiracy theory that, and it's kind of it's a light conspiracy theory, right? We said we'd start off comedic, but he got a lot of shit from this and became a living meme soon thereafter. And this clip is from as I said, it's from 2015, from his show. And rather than talk about it any further, let's just play it, and
let's listen.
You can listen to it for yourself and make up your own mind.
If you're a new listener, just type in Pentagon tested gay bomb on Iraq. They didn't consider using it. They've used it on our troops. In Vietnam, they'd spray PCP on the troops, Jacob's Ladder. You think PCP, some horse tranquilizer, something? They got stuff that'll whack your brain permanently. Brain chips in the troops. They give the troops special vaccines that are really nanotech that already re-engineer their brains. Now, there it is, the gay bomb. Look it up for yourself. I mean, this is what do you think tap water is? It's a gay bomb, baby. And I'm not saying people didn't naturally have homosexual feelings. I'm not even getting into it, quite frankly. I mean, give me a break. You think I'm like, shocked by it, so I'm up here bashing it because I don't like gay people? I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that? Serious crap. I'm sick of being social engineered. It's not funny.
So that was the clip. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not something that it's not like some of the other conspiracy theories that we're going to get into. Well, rather the other two.
Basically,
where it's something that's been he's really pushed for his entire life or some significant portion of it. It really is just that one statement.
Yeah. It was
that
just
this
the one
whole
statement.
thing has sprung from. But there's a lot in that segment. So, all right, first of all,
let's talk about what is a gay bomb.
Yeah, let's actually talk about what he started off with. So, I have some notes, and we can probably look up some more stuff on this as we talk. But the first thing he mentioned, the gay bomb, or as it was known in another time, I guess it still is in official records, maybe known as the. Probably going to pronounce this wrong. The halitosis bomb.
Halitosis is a medical condition of like really bad breath.
Yes,
that's weird.
But it has to do with like I think it has to do what you're talking about. Has to do with like something's wrong with the pheromones you're producing, right?
Okay.
Because talking about shit we don't know. I don't know anything about. But halitosis bomb. So. It wasn't fully developed, but it was a project proposal by the Pentagon or Air Force, probably both. The idea was that it was a psychochemical weapon, and the whole idea about it was that you would have this bomb filled with gas or something to create gas, right, when it was finally dropped, and then the idea was that. When you drop this bomb, it would explode into a cloud of gas. And then when the male soldiers of whoever you're fighting would inhale this, they would then become sexually attracted to their fellow male soldiers and be unable
to fight
or unwilling. Like this is, in terms of harebrained military ideas, this is up there.
I mean, it's really not that bad of an idea, really, because it's then
pretty crazy.
It's
pretty crazy, even given the fact. I mean, it's even more crazy when you consider the fact that there was very little to like no testing on this. Like this was just someone's spitballing, I think, and somehow made it to the point of actually being a proper weapons proposal. Like, oh, hey guys, we need a new bomb. Ideas, please. And then someone just raised their hand, sir, if I might, what if we turn the enemy soldiers gay?
Yeah. But see,
some crazy shit like that. Yeah.
The reason why it's not that bad of an idea, honestly, is because like you can avoid mass death if your enemies just give up, okay? So they just like surrender. So if you can get your enemies to surrender without killing them, isn't that preferable?
Well, yeah, but it's not. I mean, that's preferable in any situation, right? The more you can avoid,
if you can end
the more you can avoid like mass killing. In any sense, the better.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's still a batshit crazy idea.
But so basically, like the idea was the gas that the bomb like would explode with contained, human pheromones, right? That would supposedly like make the soldiers gay, quote unquote, or like attracted to the people around them, which would be the male soldiers.
Temporarily, probably, because if you're just giving them a dose of chemical, it'll wear off. But still, enough to. I don't know. I can't really imagine what someone would have to like. What's a step after that?
Yeah,
you just roll on through. I don't know, Vietnam or Afghanistan, and just say, "Oh, look, they're not fighting anymore."
So I mean,
we won.
It's really funny because this is is something that Alex Jones, like, I guess, was right on. Like,
he was only right in the sense that they were trying to do it.
Yeah,
not in the sense that it actually ended up working.
Oh yeah.
But
then he branches off from there being a gay bomb into this like conspiracy theory, quote unquote, that we're talking about, which is the gay frog. So basically, his one thing that he talks about very often is chemicals in tap water. That's like his huge
chemicals.
Thing. He literally sells products that either filter tap water or do like some kind of shit to like.
So does Brita and stuff like that. But he kind of takes it another level. He doesn't just say, hey, there might be some lead in your water. He's saying the government's putting these chemicals, hormones or whatever, fluorine, chloride, I don't know, whatever supposedly makes water safer to mind control you. Or make you weak or something like that.
And it sounds ridiculous, but there is something to it, funny enough. So the whole issue here is, and where he actually does have some kind of credibility, not in the terms of that the government is specifically plotting to put hormones in our water supply to make us feminine or gay or whatever the fuck, but he's kind of right when he says, there is more hormones than ever in tap water, okay, because of
the beef industry, right? Or
well, that could be a factor. I've heard of that before, but mainly I think because of all the oral contraceptives for women being flushed down the toilets, and down the drains in shower sinks and toilets, okay, and that gets in, and those hormones get into the water supply.
That's just like what, concentrated, estrogen or something like that.
No, it's
something that makes a woman's body think that it's pregnant.
Yeah.
Right,
so
whatever.
Basically, the the main component of female birth control is progesterone, I believe.
That's it. Yeah.
And and it's not like it's not as like the typical feminizing hormone, right? So like if you see a male to female transgender person, right, they're going to be taking estrogen, okay, which is the main feminizing hormone that you could take, right?
Sure.
Progesterone in women is used as birth control because it's
a natural chemical that a woman's body produces when it's pregnant.
Yeah.
So if you trick the body into thinking it's pregnant by that, you won't get pregnant because the body already thinks it's
exactly.
Yeah.
So, but the whole thing is that can certainly have certain feminizing effects other effects in general.
But I'm wondering about that because think about it.
People.
Right. You throw your birth control down the drain.
Mm-hmm.
Water goes into some kind of, depending on where you are, some kind of water filtration.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Maybe you're out in the middle of the countryside and you don't, you're on your own well and your wastewater either goes into a septic tank or it goes into, if it's just coming from the sink, it'll just probably run out of the house or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, if it's saying it's the septic tank and the sewage, right, you're throwing it down the toilet, it's going to go through some kind of water treatment.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not filtering for that.
So,
but they're still like doing a lot to the water on the other end.
Basically, most of the water like filtration and treatment shit, they can manage to eliminate, bacteria.
Yeah.
And certain heavy metals, not all, but certain heavy metals they are able to take out. But I do not believe there's any effort made in most water treatment plants to get rid of hormones in water.
Well, it's just
not to my knowledge.
It's just not something that, it won't kill you, right?
Yeah,
so why spend the money on filtering for it?
But it will over long periods of time certainly have, most likely negative effects, because if you're taking exogenous hormones into your body that you don't require in any way, it's probably not going to be the best thing for you. So
yeah, I can see that. But to get back to this whole conspiracy theory thing, Alex Jones's claim is that it's not just that this is some accidental thing, right? So when you have people dumping birth control down the drain, they're not necessarily doing it. They're not doing it, right, as some kind of, evil conspiracy to feminize men or to turn them gay or whatever kind of bullshit it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not as if the U.S. government hasn't tried to do stuff like this in the past. When I was looking at this, when I actually watched the Alex Jones clip, probably rewatched it. I probably saw it a few years ago. I was reminded of you've probably heard of it, Project MK Ultra.
I've heard of that somewhere.
Yeah.
What is that about? I've definitely heard of that before.
So Project MK Ultra was a secret, very top secret CIA experiment run from 1953 to 1973.
20 years.
20 years. Yeah. 20 years. And it was the whole purpose of it was to develop techniques that would be used on prisoners, prisoners of war, people, whatever. People that the CIA has captured.
Oh, okay.
In order to better interrogate them, i.e.
basically to get them to talk.
Get them to talk. Yeah. And this is kind of where you start getting things like the CIA is like looking into, what did I write down? It's kind of like they were kind of interested to see, right, if they could quote unquote mind control somebody.
Yeah. And what's the easiest way to do that?
Drugs.
Hormones. Yeah.
Well, they didn't use hormones,
really?
But they did use LSD, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation, some really bad things. Those are bad enough, but some even worse things: verbal and sexual abuse and torture, like just straight up, bamboo splints in your fingernails kind of stuff. Probably. It is the CIA after all. They can kind of do whatever the fuck they want. But the point of this is that crazy shit like this isn't out of the scope of the government or some powerful organization.
Similar things have been done before, yes.
Similar things have been done before.
Not exactly, but
similar. It doesn't take. All you need to do, as if you're looking for a conspiracy theory, all you need to do is see something like this and say, "Oh, well, this happened. Therefore, they're turning the frogs gay."
Yeah.
Therefore, this other kind of maybe inexplicable or crazy shit that happens to have some government involvement is also real, right? The only government involvement was a crazy project proposal by someone at the Air Force.
Yeah.
That never actually happened, as far as I remember. I mean, I think Alex Jones mentioned something like they were dropping PCP
on
the
like
troops.
That. Yeah.
I don't know if that was... I mean, I do remember that in Vietnam they had this insecticide.
Agent Orange, yes.
Agent Orange, right. Because Vietnam, swarming with mosquitoes, you don't want your soldiers getting malaria. But it ended up having long-term consequences, giving people cancer and stuff like that.
My grandfather on my mother's side, his brother... So he had two brothers, and they all they were born in the 40s, and they all were drafted during
they would have been like
Vietnam era.
20s by the time. Yeah,
my grandfather went to Germany. His one brother went to, I forget, but his other brother went to the front lines in Vietnam, was exposed to all of that, and suffered a host, years Not even that long afterwards. I'm talking 5 years after he came back. Was already, I believe he got cancer 5 years afterwards.
Really?
And he was young. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was just horrible. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past the U.S. government that they have done, unethical, quote unquote, tests similar to what Alex Jones is talking about in a way. And we see there the Project MKUltra is kind of similar. They weren't using hormones and shit like Alex Jones is saying, but it's really not that far off. Because I'm honestly surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if the U.S. government has already tried that, basically injecting female hormones like estrogen and progesterone,
or something else. It doesn't
into a
something.
Prisoner of war or someone to get them to.
I mean, what do you think they do in Guantanamo Bay? Guantanamo Bay is a freaking black site.
Yeah.
Right? It's not as if you can get any reliable information out of there, and God knows what they've done in foreign countries.
Oh, yeah.
What was the one? And there was some prison in Iraq or Afghanistan that somehow something got out, and there were, pictures of people holding prisoners, tied up and with bags over their heads and beating the shit out of them.
That was a huge thing.
Where was that?
That was, I think that was in Iraq.
Yeah.
With they were all prisoners of war, and basically photos were leaked of U.S. soldiers.
Abu Ghraib. Abu Ghraib.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Right. When was that? That wasn't that long ago. 03 to 06, right?
Yeah, so basically the photos were leaked of U.S. soldiers tying them up in it, with collars on their necks, and they had them stripped down naked and beat them basically, and all
the bad things that people thought was going on at Guantanamo Bay was actually happening at this place in Iraq.
Yeah,
and probably also in Guantanamo Bay, but
but yeah, to come back to this conspiracy theory by Alex Jones. So it seems like there are certain truths to what he is saying. But the main thing that we want to get to now is, are the frogs turning gay? That's what we want to know. So is there any truth to frogs being turned gay from water, from the water?
From the water? I didn't look into that, honestly. I kind of stopped reading as soon as I saw failed Pentagon or you failed Air Force test.
Yeah.
I mean, we can find out easy enough.
I mean, from what I have seen, there was a recent news story talking about how because of chemicals in water from birth control, there was fish, not frogs, but fish that were...
Well, okay, here comes unreliable sources. It's not that it affects the sexuality, it affects the sex.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
So what was happening was certain hormones were in the water, and fish were in the water and being exposed to it, and they were turning intersex, basically. So the fish were... Like, the male fish were becoming like female fish, and the female fish were becoming like male fish, basically.
Okay, so this is from, what's this website? iflscience.com. So I cannot speak to the veracity of this, but the article reads, in a 2010 paper from the University of California, Berkeley, found that as many as 1 in 10 male frogs exposed to atrazine, a common pesticide, experienced a hormonal imbalance that effectively turns them female. They produce estrogen, mate with males, and even lay eggs. More recently, studies have shown that chemicals found in suburban ponds and road salts can also affect a frog's sex. So these are frogs, right?
Oh,
they
are frogs.
Okay, you can't really... As far as I know, nothing has been shown that this can be reproducible in people. But I mean, the further down the evolutionary scale you get in a sense,
I didn't know that
the sexuality and kind of gets a lot, or at least the not sexuality, the sex.
Well, no,
can be a lot more malleable.
Well, it literally just said that the male frogs were having sex with other male frogs.
Yeah. But it's not. No, but it's more than that, right? Because it says they produced estrogen.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. It's not just that they started being attracted to the same sex.
Yeah.
They started becoming the female version of a frog.
Yeah.
Laying eggs.
And it's also important to keep in mind that only 1 in 10. So
but that's
10% of frogs.
10%.
But that's pretty significant. I mean,
but this is what is it with seahorses, right? It's male seahorses carry the offspring to term or something, whatever it is. So I mean, it can apply with lower species, let's say. But I mean, what is it? Something like only 2% of all studies that are confirmed in mice are ever reproducible in any statistically significant way in people, something like that.
But the problem with that is that it's also very hard to get ethical confirmation on human studies.
I can't imagine what you'd have to do to confirm. I mean, it's easy enough to confirm Alex Jones's they're turning the frogs gay, but to confirm something like they're mind controlling the U.S. population through chemicals or hormones in the water, I can't imagine that ever getting past any kind of ethical review board. Yeah. In this country,
I mean,
maybe China or Russia.
So basically, the heart of the matter here. Was Alex Jones right about the frogs being turned gay? Yes.
Kind of.
Yes, he was.
But the thing is that he didn't... What he was... Yeah. I don't... But he was right in that it's possible.
Yeah.
But he honestly, the thing with Alex Jones is most of the time, he's just throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks. Yeah. Some of this happened to stick. That doesn't. Yeah. I'm really. Yeah. I can't say he's entirely wrong, but he's wrong in a lot of other ways.
Yeah, like
there's no government. He didn't prove any kind of government conspiracy.
That part is definitely unconfirmed. I mean, we don't know that for sure at all. But was he right about chemicals in the water turning frogs
that is
gay?
Possible?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was right about that. Yeah. But that wasn't the full conspiracy theory.
And it's really funny because
that'll actually be a recurring theme through the other two that we talk about. And because they'll grab onto this one grain of truth and extrapolate the hell out of that
It's just
for their own kind of whatever their ends are.
Yeah.
What have you.
It's really funny, though, in this case, because everybody was making memes about the frogs being gay. And then when it came out that it was happening, like, it was just the greatest thing ever.
That's kind of his fault as well. I mean, okay, let's just rewatch, or if you're listening in, well, that's everybody except for me and Vinny. Let's just listen back to the latter 30 seconds of this clip.
And I'm not saying people didn't naturally have homosexual feelings. I'm not even getting into it, quite frankly. I mean, give me a break. You think I am like, shocked by it, so I'm up here bashing it because I don't like gay people? I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that? Serious crap. I'm sick of being social engineered. It's not funny.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
So that's what got him turned into this living meme.
Yeah.
It's not the fact that he said this stuff, right? If Alex Jones was just saying, hey guys, here's this scientific paper, right? Because that paper was from 2000.
Nobody would have known about him.
That paper that I read quoted
was from 2010.
2010. So he could have easily found it.
Oh, yeah.
I found it easy enough.
Yeah.
He could have easily found it, just read the results and said, hey, it is possible to turn frogs
gay
into the opposite sex.
Yeah.
Not just that, and also into the opposite sex. But the fact
which is also more severe than just changing the sexuality. When you change the sex, that's significant.
Biological engineering, really. I mean, I don't know how permanent that was. Maybe once you take away the chemicals, they revert back. Whatever. Yeah. The point is that the reason people just thought, I mean, if you didn't think he was crazy before, you definitely started thinking he was crazy then. The reason for that was that, I mean, all that banging and
and his voice
and
like,
you know, like
sounds like a WWE wrestler when he talks.
Like, so he's just having this freak out on set, looking directly at the camera. You should actually,
and he's dead.
If you're listening in, you should go watch the clip for yourself.
He is dead serious the whole time.
He's serious. There's no sense of disingenuousness about him.
And that's why, like, a lot of people liked him, because he didn't give a fuck. He just said whatever the hell he wanted to, and he was dead serious the whole time.
Yeah. Oh man, is there anything more we want to say on that? We have two others to move on to.
I think we should get to the next one. Which one you want to do?
Well, there's the remaining two are Flat Earth and JFK shit.
Okay.
Now, if we keep going in terms of seriousness, we'll end up on JFK.
I think we should go to Flat Earth and then end up
on JFK?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I kind of think there's a reason I'd want to do Flat Earth last, and it kind of ties back into what we did last episode in a weird way.
Okay.
So why don't we do JFK first?
All right.
Let's do JFK first. All right. Now, I don't think I need to couch this in any kind of, if you hadn't heard this before.
If you hadn't heard of John F. Kennedy before.
You're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And you should stop listening in. Actually, yeah. Seriously. But anyways, so, I should probably actually pull up a Wikipedia page myself just so I don't, botch the dates on any of this. But I think it was in Dallas.
Somewhere in Texas.
I'm pretty sure. November 22nd, 1963, Dallas, Texas.
That was the day and location where he was shot.
Yes, at 12:30 p.m. Wow, well, they had it on video, so they can't be that specific.
So, Ben, what is this what are the conspiracy theories that we're going to talk about in regards to this then?
The problem with the JFK is that it's not just one.
It's many.
It's so many. So, I mean, I just had to focus on take notes on a few, and I think I want to end up on the one that I think is the most plausible.
Okay.
But let's just rule out the kind of bullshit ones first. Okay, so one of the ones that I first heard about, and it's the thing about this is that it's not. What we're going to be talking about is it's not that I won't present like a whole consistent conspiracy theory. It's just like different aspects of it.
Yeah.
You know, like how many shooters were there, how many shots were taken, was there a cover up by the CIA or whatever? I mean, there's individual people who can push their own case, but these are just kind of the crazier. Let's start with the crazier details. Ice bullet. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not heard of this.
So the ice bullet theory, right? Because there was people heard, or there were heard recorded like 4 shots. Some people say 3, some people said 4, but they couldn't find the casing or shells, right, to make up whatever the extra, the full count of bullets.
Yeah.
So they'd find like 2 bullet fragments worth of bullet, or they found 3 bullet fragments worth of bullet. So then, and the whole thing was that, they thought this. So this theory came up that it wasn't an actual lead bullet that ended up killing it. The headshot. Yeah. It was an ice bullet.
An ice bullet,
a bullet made of ice, which already sounds crazy, right? Because you can, unless you have a piece of ice. I don't know what's one of the coldest planets on Pluto, right?
Unless Saturn, maybe.
Well, Pluto's not a planet.
No, I mean, Uranus.
Sure.
Right. Like they have. I think that's the coldest official
whatever
planet at this point.
Yeah, right. Because Pluto's not a planet. But anyways, unless you have a piece of ice like at negative, approaching absolute 0.
Yeah.
There's no way it would survive
being shot out of a gun.
Being shot out of a gun. So that was just one of the. I think MythBusters busted this myth.
Yeah.
Pretty easily.
I mean, that one is not too interesting because it's pretty easy to see like how that wouldn't really work out at all.
Yeah. Now, but then there's some more plausible ones. Okay, so second shooter.
Okay, now this one honestly is pretty plausible. Okay, so
all right. Well, what do you know about it?
So let's see. So the official report. What was the name of the report again? Do you know what that is?
Well, actually, it's funny. There were two official investigations of this. One that happened contemporaneously, or soon thereafter.
Yeah.
Well, not contemporaneously, but right after the assassination. It was called the Warren Commission.
Warren
Commission. The Warren Commission said that there were 3 shots from the 6th floor window of the southeast corner of the Texas School Book Depository.
So
all done by Lee Harvey.
School Book Depository, is that like a library? What the hell is that?
I don't know. Someplace they keep textbooks for distribution. So it's probably filled with textbooks.
So it's like a warehouse.
Yeah, since it's Texas, it's probably filled with textbooks that say evolution's a lie and that creationism's the way. That's another topic for another time. Anyways, that's what the Warren Commission said. House Select Committee on Assassinations, which was some 10 to 15 years later, something like it was a while later, said that there were 4 shots, 3 from the book depository, 1 from the grassy knoll. And they know that Oswald was one of them. I don't think they ever. I don't know. I didn't read the real report.
So they found a bullet casing in a grassy knoll.
Well, they pieced together this information, and from the video evidence, right? There was at least one person. The one, like if you ever see one video of the JFK assassination, it's this one video.
And that film the film is called the Zapruder film.
Yeah, the Zapruder film. Yeah. And
that's the only film known to exist of the assassination, correct?
Which is kind of surprising when you think about it.
How many people were there?
It was the 1960s, so it's not as if everyone had a camera.
Yeah.
But
they were
nonetheless
probably very, very expensive, and only a select few people had them.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, only one person recording on an event that big. I mean,
but in any case, the House Select Committee on Assassinations probably pieced this information together from the video, from eyewitnesses, bullet trajectories, whatever.
Yeah.
The Warren Commission probably just wanted to get something out.
Yeah.
To get something out. What else was there?
So those are the 2 official reports. So those are by the U.S. government. Is that correct?
Those are from Congress. Yeah.
Okay, so those are the government reports on the Kennedy assassination. Basically, that there were either 3 or 4 bullets shot from the 6th floor of that book storage building.
Sure.
So now what I want to know is, because I don't know this, how far away was that window to where Kennedy was shot? That's what I want to know.
Several hundred meters, yards. Let's find out. Length of God, I can't type. JFK shot. 265 feet.
That's it?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Well, because he was driving down a road, right? And the building's on that road.
So that's not even that far. That's not even 300 feet.
Right. So the thing about Oswald was that he was also Marine trained.
He was a sniper, right?
Marksman.
Yeah.
There's a differentiation between
marksman and sniper.
Like they break it down differently. Like I think it goes marksman, then sniper, then sharpshooter.
Okay.
Something like that. But he was trained.
Yeah. So he knew how to shoot a gun like, hundreds and hit something like hundreds of feet away, basically.
Yeah. At least. I mean, yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, that's honestly, it's not out of the realm of possibility for someone trained to be able to do that. So we know either 3 or 4 shots were fired. Now, how many contacted JFK? Was it just the one that actually hit him?
How many hit him?
Yeah, it was just one, right?
No.
Or was 2?
It was one missed. So if you take it as 3.
Yeah.
1 missed. 1 hit him in the shoulder blade. Somehow ricocheted off his vertebrae and ended up hitting the governor of Texas, who was in the car with him.
Okay.
Governor of Texas survived.
Yeah.
But he was seriously hurt. Then, so that was like the second shot.
Yeah.
So first misses, second shot hits, non-fatally. Third shot, fatal shot, allegedly blows out the back of his head, right? So that's when you see...
So he got shot from the front or from the back?
Well, when you see it blows out the back of his head.
So he must have gotten shot from the front.
Yeah, must have. Let's go to the medical evidence section. Medical evidence. Yeah, I didn't take that great notes.
That's fine.
But anyways,
but yeah,
the main theory is that the official story is that Oswald shot
Lee
Kennedy.
Harvey Oswald was
Lee
the
Harvey
guy's name,
Oswald shot Kennedy from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository.
265 feet away.
265 feet away.
And fired 3 to 4 shots.
Yeah.
Where 2 actually hit him.
2 actually hitting him. One of them, the first one missing. Second one hitting him non-fatally. At least, he didn't die immediately.
Yeah.
And going and then hitting the governor of Texas.
Yeah.
Third one blowing out the back of his head.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is the governmental official report. So now,
yes.
What's like the next theory that we could try to explain here?
Well, or you mean another aspect of it?
Yeah. So we have the ice bullet. That one doesn't really have much to it, but so the next one we talked about was the second shooter. So like, what?
So who was the second shooter?
Yeah.
If there was a second shooter.
If there was a second shooter, where was he and who? Like, does anybody know anything about it?
Let's see. Gunman? Second gunman. I don't know why they don't say second shooter. So, I think I really don't just like reading straight from Wikipedia, but the HSCA, so the House Select Committee on Assassinations, assassinations, whatever, reasoned that a second gunman probably also fired at Kennedy, but acoustic evidence that the HSCA accepted in reaching its conclusion regarding a second gunman was later possibly discredited by a number of experts. So, maybe? The Warren Commission concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald was the only person responsible. So, Warren Commission says that there's one shooter, but 1979. So, what was that? Oh, yeah, exactly 15 years later. 15 years later, said that there was probably a second gunman.
Yeah, so
on acoustical evidence.
So the Warren Commission. The second shooter on the grassy knoll, which was a hill overlooking the site where Kennedy was assassinated in his motorcade. But then, in 1982, we didn't mention this yet, yet another committee examined this evidence. It was the National Academy of Sciences Committee on Ballistic Acoustics, basically meaning, like, shit with how, like, the way bullets work.
Something you'd bring, like an expert you'd bring to a crime scene. You could create a lot of panic or disagreement on the facts, based on the echoes and the fact that people are running for their freaking lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
That's plenty of room for conspiracy. That's room enough for conspiracy theories, and it's probably already enough for this the Las Vegas guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, so that's what we have basically on the theory that there was more than one shooter. It's looking like it's not as plausible as people thought initially. But yeah, so that's two. So we have the ice bullet, we have the second shooter, and what's another one? I mean, there's many, but
yeah. So the second shooter thing is iffy. I mean, to the point that it's just almost implausible that there was a second shooter, that is. But I think there's still little disagreement on what motivated him to do. Well, not what.
Yeah.
There were and still are a lot of people who think that. All right, I guess we can start with this one. That he was an agent of a communist government of some kind.
Yeah.
So.
Probably like the USSR, no?
Yeah, USSR or the Cuban government. Remember, because Kennedy had launched.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Kennedy had launched the Bay of Pigs invasion, and there have been multiple other attempts to assassinate Fidel Castro.
Yeah.
I think this was also after the standoff between the U.S. Navy and the USSR of the Cuban Missile Crisis.
That was 1961. Yeah.
1961. Yeah. So there was ample reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, if something, and obviously, what am I trying to say? There was ample reason for either the Cuban government or the Russian government to want Kennedy dead, as if they didn't have enough beforehand.
Yeah. I feel like though the Cubans had much more of a reason, because Kennedy was the one responsible, I believe, for in 1961 with the Bay and Pigs invasion and like the missile crisis and everything and all of that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a significant motive there.
But it's not as if the Cuban government, like they're pretty self-contained to the island of Cuba, right? Russia, world power at the time.
Yeah.
A lot of international, an international heavyweight.
But I don't believe. But see, I don't believe the U.S. government ever tried to kill a leader of the USSR. I don't believe
leader.
Yeah.
Well, no. Well, probably. I don't know. That's
at least not that's in public knowledge, because we do know that the U.S. government did try.
Smaller governments, sure, smaller countries.
But we do know that the U.S. government did try to assassinate
Fidel.
Yes, many times.
Yes.
Yeah. Like one time they supposedly stuffed his cigar with explosives, and hopefully he lit it on fire and it would fucking kill him, but it didn't. So
that's I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that sounds like a cartoon.
Yeah,
yeah.
I know.
They probably just got it out of a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like you're saying that he would have been contacted or at least influenced
or trained directly. So
okay.
Here are the notes I have. So Oswald was a communist sympathizer. He did defect to Russia.
Oh, that's right. He
did defect to Russia. And he founded the Fair Play for Cuba Committee. I don't really understand what that was, but it was some kind of organization sympathetic to the communist Cuban government.
Yeah.
I have that. And he always claimed innocence. It's weird. Oswald. He claimed innocence
really?
up until he was killed.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, of course he would.
Why would you as a communist sympathizer, if you think about it, right? Because you've just killed the leader of the biggest enemy to communism in the world at the time, the U.S. Why wouldn't you want to, be a martyr for the cause?
Because then he probably didn't say much afterwards. If it is true that he was contacted or trained by a foreign government, he would try to say as little as possible, so that doesn't come out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess, but on the other hand, inciting further violence by saying, "Hey, I'm the guy who did it. Look at me." Because
then he would have caused like an immediate war.
You mean if he admitted to being an agent of Russia?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah. So like, let's see.
That's actually what some of the leaders of Russia and Cuba said. Like, I think Fidel Castro was quoted as, I'm going to paraphrase, he said something along the lines of, anyone in the Cuban government would have had to have been absolutely insane to come up with a plan to assassinate Kennedy. Right? Yeah. If they could have ever tied Oswald back to the Cuban government, Cuba's gone. There's no more Cuba.
Yeah.
Right? We find, like, America, 1960s, finds out that some banana republic, or not even republic, dictatorship in the Caribbean just assassinated our president. Yeah, you can forget about having a country.
Yeah.
You're done. And I mean, Bay of Pigs was one thing, but it's not as if you had the entire country mobilized against Cuba at that point.
Yeah.
Assassinating a president would have done just that.
Yeah, and when did Lee Harvey Oswald defect to Russia or something like that? When did that happen?
I don't know. There's a lot of things I don't know.
Because it's interesting, because I could see him doing that, right? And then
well, he was killed soon after he was arrested.
Yeah.
So he didn't do it afterwards.
Yeah, no. This was before he supposedly killed President Kennedy.
Let's see. You think this would be a simple question to
right?
Freaking Google. October 1959.
1959. That was 4 years.
33 years.
Yeah. So
American Marxist and former U.S. Marine who assassinated JFK.
Okay, so I could see him doing that, right? And most likely being contacted by the Russians or by the Cubans, because at that time, I believe, if I'm correct, if memory serves correctly, that the Russians were storing their I don't know if they were technically called ICBMs back then, or what they were called, but they were storing their like missiles, like in Cuba. Like
no, that was the whole Cuban Missile Crisis. America stopped them from doing that.
And then after that, they didn't have their missiles there. Is that correct? Or they still did?
They never got the chance to put them. So the whole thing about the Cuban Missile Crisis, right, was that the United States started stationing missiles in Turkey, right? Missiles that could reach,
which is
Moscow,
which is near, near enough to Russia.
Yeah, that could reach big Russian cities, right? That weren't in Europe, per se. Depends if you consider Turkey,
Europe.
Whatever. But the point is, we started positioning missiles in Turkey.
Yeah.
And in response to that, Russia sent, a fleet.
Yeah.
With missiles. To Cuba.
Yes. Yeah.
And we stopped it, so they never got the chance. So there were no missiles. Like the whole idea was that this was, if you want to make the case for the Cuban connection, the whole idea is that it's that. And the assassination attempts on Fidel Castro add up to, we're going to recruit this American
communist
Russian
sympathizer,
sympathizer to assassinate Kennedy,
who is already trained by the U.S. military. Is that correct?
Who was already trained as a sniper of sorts, marksman.
So, I mean, for the Cubans, it's not that hard for them to like reach out to him and be like, hey, we want you to do this, because one he's already trained, two he already had the motive, because he was a communist sympathizer for years, so it's really not that far of
but it still requires a lot of hoops to jump through. Like, it's not as if okay, you're an American that's just defected to Russia in 1959. The CIA is on your ass in some respect. So is the FBI. He did come back to the United States, obviously. So
he was let in.
But the point is that he was being monitored on some level. So you're the Cuban government, and you're trying to get to somebody who's constantly being monitored by the U.S. government. Good luck. That's all I have to say. But in terms of people who could have influenced him, I don't know. Do we want to say anything more? I kind of find it implausible that the Russian government, especially considering the fact that nobody took responsibility, I don't think there was any communist organization of any kind that said, yeah, that's our guy.
Nobody came out.
It's not like, ISIS kills somebody in Europe, they say, yeah, that was us. Or somebody takes responsibility. Somebody takes credit.
Here's the difference, because first of all, they would never admit to be like, okay, yeah, we're the ones that did that. Because one, they would either start
I don't know. Martyrdom is pretty...
Because look, one, they would either start a nuclear war.
Pretty attractive for some people.
Or two, that wasn't their goal. Their goal was to do what they had to do and get out and not have anything be found out. Like the goal of other organizations is terrorism, and in that case, they're going to come out and say, yes, we were behind this whole thing and we managed to pull this off, because that's basically a form of terrorism. But that really wasn't their goal. They just wanted him out, right?
Right, but that's kind of getting into what terrorism is, because assassinating the president of the United States terrorizes the people. It does, right? Seeing one of the most, I guess you could call them, photogenic presidents ever to just be gunned down in broad daylight.
I know.
Was pretty traumatizing then.
They probably wanted to send a message and wanted him out for the things that we already mentioned. Yeah. Which I guess you could probably argue that, okay, that's a form of terrorism. Yeah, but yeah. So those are three theories so far, and then the last one.
This is kind of just one big clusterfuck, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because these none of these kind of. I'd have a hard time tying all. Someone has written a book. Actually, I guarantee you that many people have written many books
on this,
picking and choosing which elements you can actually use and tie into a coherent story. We're not even going to bother with that. That's too much.
Okay.
That'd be a show and a half.
Yeah.
At least, and a week of research time, which I don't have.
But I think we should touch on the theory that you said that you find most plausible.
One more before we get there.
Oh, is this the mob hit?
This is the mafia. This is the mafia connection. So, the Kennedy family.
Yeah.
Lot of tie-ins with the mob. So, JFK's father used to the way he got rich was bootlegging. He was a rum runner.
Yes.
In Prohibition. So he started off with all these connections to mob, to the mafia in New York,
to the criminal underground.
New York, Chicago, wherever, in Boston. Right, they were from Boston. Yeah. And apparently the
Irish Catholic,
what, the church?
No, him, like his family.
Yeah. Which also, by the way, was a big deal because he was the first Catholic president, and there was a big deal made about it. Well, they thought he was going to be a puppet of the Pope.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but in any case, there were all these rumors that the mafia had helped Kennedy win the presidency in one day or another. I don't know if it was stuffing ballot boxes per se, but intimidating people here, buying off politicians there, stuff like that. But add on to that the fact that JFK's brother, Robert Kennedy, he just had a boner for going after the mob.
Yeah.
Like that I could try and find something on him, but the main idea is this. The mafia, one kind or another, whether it's straight from friggin' Italy, Sicilian mafia, or their New York branches, whatever, they had a bone to pick with Kennedy in a big way, right? Because his brother was sending their people to jail one after the other.
Yeah.
Or, about to do something like that. So they were probably thinking to themselves, hey, what's a good way to get this guy off our back? We'll kill his brother. What? His brother's the president of the United States? Fuck it. Who cares? We're the mafia. Something like that.
I feel like the mob hit idea is much less plausible than like the foreign government one, honestly. Because I feel like the mob wouldn't want to risk doing something that big. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah, it is kind of a big leap from robbing banks and extortion
and drugs
and racketeering and drugs to
murdering the president of the United States.
Presidential assassination.
Yeah. I feel like that's a little bit of a stretch, but
I don't know. There's all this is circumstantial evidence.
Yeah.
But there is this circumstantial evidence that a former mafia boss by the name of Carlos Marcello allegedly confessed to a cellmate who turned out to be an FBI informant that he helped organize the assassination in some way.
What?
So whether or not this...
Oh, my God. I never heard of that. That's crazy.
I mean, allegedly, right?
Yeah, but I mean...
Circumstantial evidence.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Was that guy he was a mafia member?
New Orleans Mafia.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. They're not all just one homogenous organization, right? But they kind of talk to each other on some level. But yeah, so there's that. Honestly, I think it was some mix of all this shit, right? Because the CIA and the FBI, they have some informants on some level within these crime organizations.
Yeah,
and they have some investment in destroying them when they get rowdy, when they get too big, and letting them continue when they're kind of helping them bring down bigger things. So maybe this was just something that got out of control real fast, and somehow they just had this nutcase in Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
That, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
But all of it has a grain of truth, just like Alex Jones.
Exactly.
He's still dead. So that, Alex Jones said they were turning the frogs gay. It's not as if no one's saying that JFK is down in Hawaii, eating peanut butter sandwiches like Elvis.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever the hell that shit is.
Peanut butter and banana sandwiches.
Yeah. Whatever that crap is.
So now let's get to probably the most interesting one. And Ben told me about this yesterday. And the
most interesting one for JFK.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what happened?
Yeah.
All right. So this theory now it still involves Oswald. Oswald isn't innocent in all this.
He's not out of the picture. He's not innocent.
But the key to this conspiracy theory is that Oswald did not fire
the kill shot,
the fatal shot.
Yeah.
So here's the idea. Oswald takes his first and second shot. First one misses. Second one non-fatally hits the president.
Yeah.
And goes into the governor. Then the motorcade starts speeding away. Probably starts speeding away actually at the first shot. So,
and I believe Jackie Kennedy jumps on the hood.
So just for those of you who don't know the exact setup of this, so JFK and his wife are sitting on the so imagine like a flat top convertible.
And they were in the back seat, correct?
Right, they were in the back seat. 1960s style.
Wide as fuck.
Very wide, very flat. They can sit on the, they're basically sitting on the headrests in a way of the back seats, waving to people, whatever. In front of them are two Secret Service, in front of them are probably the governor and the governor's wife.
And there's a driver.
And and an armed Secret Service agent with an AR-15. And something that should that kind of, I think in a way plays into all this, is the fact that the Secret Service agents had been getting wasted or drunk or something, hookers, drugs, alcohol, something like that in the preceding nights or the night before. So it's not as if they were in the best of
frame of mind and shape.
Yeah, and there's, I mean, it's not even that crazy to imagine, right? Because I think it was only a few years ago that Secret Service agents were busted in Mexico City doing the exact same thing.
Yeah,
or somewhere south of the border. But the idea is the way that Kennedy got the fatal shot from this conspiracy, from this theory, is that as the car is speeding away, the Secret Service agent with the AR-15 slips up. He doesn't have the safety on. He somehow, it either misfires or he accidentally pulls the trigger and blows out the back of Kennedy's skull, right? Because this is what you see in the video. You see the back of Kennedy's skull go flying out and onto the trunk of the convertible. Mm-hmm. And the reason that people say that it's unlikely that Lee Harvey Oswald fired this shot is because he's 6 stories up.
And 300 feet away.
Just under 200, let's say 250 feet away.
Okay.
Which isn't that far for a sharpshooter or whatever he was called, a marksman. But the angle of it wouldn't really suggest that his brains go flying out the back. However, if you have someone slipping up with an AR-15, and there's other arguments about at what angle you'd have to get it to blow out the back of his skull.
Yeah.
But it just seems so much simpler to me than all this shit about, about Harvey Oswald being some foreign agent or some mafia agent or whatever. Let's just say he was a crazy person, which he was. He decided to defect to Russia in the fucking 1960s for ideological reasons, obviously. And he came back for probably similar ideological reasons. Don't know why he wasn't stopped at the border, right? I think they still had, when you're entering in at customs, are you or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party? Something like that. So whatever. But he gets back into the country on ideological, he's an ideologically driven guy, a nutcase. Definitely. But he's also a trained marksman. So he could have fired the fatal shot, but it just, I don't know, something about this idea just seems so much, it makes you take so much fewer assumptions
But I think
about the whole thing.
main issue is the sound, because I think eyewitnesses would have known or seen what do they call that? The
muzzle flash?
Muzzle flash, yeah. They would have heard it much, much louder, and they would have seen the muzzle flash much clearer had they been, like a bystander close by. Like, I feel like they would have been able to tell the difference between the sounds and...
Yeah, but then again, you get into this... I mean, once the first shot is fired, people are probably thinking, okay, what was that? Did the car backfire? Second shot's fired, they're running for their lives, right? They're splitting, right?
Yeah.
The Secret Service agents are running up to the car. Jackie Kennedy's, like, holding on to her husband. Yeah. Third shot fired, no one... Who's paying attention? There is the video. The video, and I forget exactly if it shows a muzzle flash or what, or if it's too grainy or, low quality. Maybe it was edited. Maybe I can just add on to this conspiracy theory. I don't know. It just seems like a much cleaner way of explaining all this than a second shooter or more conspirators. I mean, we didn't probably not enough time to go into that, but there's this whole list of people who were caught on camera or in picture who were then thought to be part of this, right? Because they were near the police or they were near the car or whatever. I think even the guy who took the video was under suspicion at one point, right? Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. So that's the cleanest theory that I would put money on.
Yeah.
But fuck saying anything about Harvey Oswald. I have no idea.
Yeah. Now, it's really interesting, too, because with him, I think it was only 2 days or something like that. When did he die?
Lee Harvey Oswald?
Yeah. How long after the shooting did he die?
Let's see. Murder.
He was murdered by Jack Ruby,
who was a mafia agent. But he also was working for, like, the FBI.
He was,
on the down low, or the CIA. You see what I mean? It all fucking... It's just so muddled. It's just so muddled. Wait, do you hear that?
What?
In the headphones.
Is that from the computer? Yeah.
Oh, it's gone now. That's weird.
Okay.
All right, anyways. So Ruby's motive was just that he was pissed off that Kennedy was assassinated.
Who did he work for?
Let's see.
I think he worked for the CIA or something.
Jack Ruby. Illegal activities in Dallas. He was apparently part of illegal gambling, narcotics, and prostitution. So mob shit, right? Mafia stuff.
Now, see, that does, okay, in my opinion, that can add some more credibility to the idea of the mafia hit, because guess what? That was if they were in that was in his best interest to silence Lee Harvey Oswald. Because if they contacted him and, said, you should help us do this, and, their best option is, let's just fucking kill him after he kills Kennedy, then we're in the clear.
Yeah.
So then what happened to Jack Ruby then?
What prosecution? I think he was sentenced.
What was his sentence?
Probably life. Probably life. I don't know. It's buried somewhere in here. He died. I think lung cancer. Oh, so he died at the same hospital that Kennedy and Oswald died at.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, because they're all in the same area of Dallas.
So he went to prison for how many years before he died? How many?
I imagine he went to prison. How? Convicted of murder. Oh, he was sentenced to death. He was on death row. Yeah. Yeah, which I'm surprised at, right? Because he killed the assassin of Kennedy by that, by the Warren Commission's reckoning. I'm surprised they gave him life. But premeditated murder nonetheless, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a whole nother topic.
Oh boy. All right. We've gotten way too serious. It's time to liven things up a bit.
Okay, now it's
all right. Now
it's time for some fun.
Now it's time to have some fun. All right. So serious stuff out of the way. And the final conspiracy theory of the day is
flat Earth theory.
Flat motherfucking Earth theory. All right. You lead off with this.
Okay,
I've done enough talking for right now. I need a rest.
I love the flat Earth theory, Ben. I think it's a great theory.
You love who was? No, not Andrew Johnson too.
Yeah. I love the flat Earth theory because it really shows us how inventive the human mind can really be. So, okay, so flat Earth theory. So let's start at the beginning. Okay, so
how far back?
Yeah. So let's go back like
Aristotle.
Like 600 years. Let's go to 600 years ago.
Sure.
Okay, so like 1500s. Italy, I think, with
You're talking about Galileo?
Yes.
A heliocentric theory.
Yes.
Well, okay, I don't know how you're going to tie it in, but go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Basically, from hundreds to thousands of years ago, people have been trying to figure out. Okay, so I guess first it started out as, okay, what is the physical location of the Earth in comparison to everything else around Earth? Because we can look in the stars and we see other stars, planets, whatever, that like certain things look bigger, meaning they're closer to us or whatever. And I guess at some point, we realized, okay, well, the Earth is spinning on its axis because of what? Shadows and shit. And like there's some kind of revolving motion happening with the Earth, right? Right? So people probably figured that out pretty quick.
You can go pretty far back to get something like people thinking that the Earth is round, spherical. What did I have here? Aristotle, Pythagoras, Parmenides, so well over 2,000 years ago. I think it was Parmenides, question mark, who kind of said that, who kind of first let's say first proposed that the Earth was a sphere of some kind. Yeah. So it's not like the idea that the Earth is spherical isn't
new.
Isn't new. Neither is the one that it's flat, by the way. I mean, it doesn't take much, right? Because the Greeks living right next to the water, all they have to, their observation of this is okay.
Ships go away and then they disappear.
And then they right? And
so it was kind of obvious.
And they can come back. Yeah, it's not like they fall off the edge of the Earth.
But then you get into, okay, so like with Columbus, right? Yeah. So some people probably thought at that time, like, oh, well, he'll if the Earth really is flat and he's going to go all the way around, he'll probably fall off if the Earth is flat, right? So
yeah, something like that.
But
Columbus actually set out believing that he could find, right, a passage west to east.
Yes,
to Asia.
From Spain, where he left.
Portugal. Wait.
Oh yeah.
Was it Spain or Portugal? Whatever.
Spain or Portugal, one of those.
Fine. Yeah.
Left from there and wanted to find a route to India.
Yep.
For the spice trade.
Yep.
Right. So
it was Spain, right? Isabella. Yeah.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
So yeah, and it turns out that he didn't fall off the Earth. He just hit North America, which also not the first people to get to North America. The Vikings landed in Nova Scotia, which is in Canada.
Yeah.
I think and then 700 years prior.
And then the native populations who had been there for tens of thousands of years.
Exactly, yeah.
But the first, what we would consider Europeans, land in the Americas.
That was in, I think, like the 700s or something like that with Leif Erikson.
They
or
didn't
something.
really they did discover it, but they didn't know what they had found.
Yeah.
They set up a few outposts, which got wiped out in a few winters, and they decided, screw this, we're going back. We're going back to Greenland because that's so much better.
But so I mean, so the idea is that the Earth is flat, the Earth is spherical. Then we have, heliocentric theory, and then the geocentric theory, like the Earth revolves around the sun, or the sun revolves around the Earth, or something like that. So this, as of right now, the scientific consensus is that the Earth revolves and is also spinning and revolves around the sun, which is, well, not technically around the sun, but of the center of gravity of the galaxy,
which is many
happens
miles
to be
within the sun.
Yes, which does happen to be within the sun. Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, the Earth does revolve around the sun, basically. So that's the main scientific consensus right now. So
but flat Earth.
Yeah.
I think it kind of, I mean, these were two really until someone circumnavigated the globe.
Yeah, which I think it was Magellan was the first.
Magellan, Straits of Magellan, Tierra del Fuego. There's a funny story about that, but that's for later. But anyways, until Magellan first circumnavigated the globe.
He didn't fall off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Until then, you really could still make an argument that, you'd have to do some stretching of the imagination, right? Because you could still tell, in a way, that there's some curvature to the Earth, but you could still kind of make the argument that the Earth was flat up until then. Columbus didn't fall off, but he did only just find a new land, and that could have just been,
but
one tile.
Yeah.
One square away from the edge.
Falling off. But he literally made his way around.
Yeah, Magellan. Yeah, with
because
half his crew.
Because he went through the Arctic Ocean. Is that correct?
Antarctic Ocean. No, he went south.
He went south?
He went south, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's Straits of Magellan are in modern day. It's either Chile or Argentina. One of the two, probably both. But yeah, so the idea that the Earth is flat or the Earth is round is nothing new. Christopher Columbus obviously took the idea that he wouldn't fall off the end of the Earth because he thought he could make it all the way to India, and that was from I don't know what he cites exactly, but the idea that his conception of the Earth and its shape at that time comes from late Republic Rome or early Imperial Rome. Pliny the Elder proposed that the Earth was pine cone shaped. So kind of looking like a pear, right?
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know why exactly, but that was kind of the idea, and I think that was more or less the idea that Columbus ran with.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But he still did not believe that the Earth was flat at all, because if he did, it would be a suicide mission.
Yeah, he would have fallen off the edge and gone who knows where.
Yeah.
Modern flat Earth theory, and this is stuff that flat Earth societies today cite.
This is where
it gets fun because
there's a lot that goes into this.
Do you know the guy's name? Like the
leader?
No, not the modern leader. I'm talking about foundational.
Oh no.
Modern flat Earth theory. So the guy's name was Samuel Rowe Botham or Rowe Botham, something like that. Circa 1700s, 1800s, something like that. And he is known for, let's see. The Bedford level experiment. So the Bedford level experiment is this. So the Bedford River, or I think it was some kind of canal or drainage drainage canal of some kind, but it was 6 miles long and very flat.
Yeah.
And the experiment was that he positioned himself a few inches off the water somehow, a floating platform of some kind or a stable platform or another boat, whatever. And then he sent a rowboat down the river with a 5-foot pole and claimed that he could still see the top of it or still see the full boat when it was 6 miles away with using a telescope. Whereas if it had followed the quote unquote curvature of the Earth, it should have been completely below the horizon.
Yeah.
Now the reason he could see it, it turns out, is because of something called refraction, right? So you have all these light rays, right? And you have, the atmosphere it's not just a vacuum, it's substantive. And as you get higher, the air gets cooler, and as it gets cooler, the air gets thicker, which increases the refractivity of the air. I think that's more or less right. Like the less hot it gets, something like that.
Yeah.
The point is that he could see the boat, but not because the boat was literally above where the horizon should have been.
Yeah.
It's that he was seeing, like holding a series of mirrors and just reflecting that image until it reached the telescope. But nonetheless, this experiment has been taken as proof, in big quotation marks, that the Earth is flat. But what were you going to talk about? You're talking about the leader of what? The modern flat Earth
Yeah, like
society?
there's a flat Earth website, and I want to know who started it, who runs it. I don't know. Like I think it's called flatearth.org or something like that.
We can find out.
Oh God.
Modern Flat Earth Societies. Wikipedia. Notes and references. International Flat Earth Research Society. Who's its current leader?
It's just a guy in his basement.
No. The crazy thing is that there's actually quite a lot of adherents.
Wow.
Yeah. Where's their website?
I believe it's called flatearth.org or flatearthsociety.org or something like that. You can find it if you look it up on Google. You can
The
find
Flat Earth Society. Error 502, bad gateway. Yeah. The flatearthsociety.org, is that it?
I think so.
Flatearthsociety.org.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh my God. Well, do you want to explain the whole theory behind this? Or the whole concept of flat Earth? Because I'll probably be looking through this a bit.
Okay. So flat Earth theory is basically that everything NASA and astronomical sources have, verified or, used in experiments and whatnot is basically, and that there's a conspiracy by the government to hide the fact that the Earth is actually flat, and by flat, I believe they just mean it's basically like a disc, almost.
It's two-dimensional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that you have mountains coming up off of this disc, and you have the valleys and the mountains and the oceans and whatnot. One, that you have this ice wall surrounding the disc Earth or the flat Earth. There's an ice wall surrounding it, and this ice wall is precisely what keeps all the water from spilling off of the Earth. That is what they say. They say the ice wall can allows the water to not fall off the Earth, basically, and I guess they probably assume something of that, but
I think they claim that it's this ice wall is something. Yeah, they claim that it's Antarctica. They also claim that it's controlled by NASA or the CIA and is meant to not only keep water from falling off the edge, but people from falling off the edge. So if you go too far, you'll get a friendly NASA scientist that says. But it's interesting how they explain stuff like day and night cycles.
Oh yeah, I was just going to mention that. Yeah.
And acceleration due to gravity. So for the acceleration due to gravity, they say that it's not that gravity pulls objects down at a rate of 9.8 meters per second.
Well, not down, just towards the center.
Towards the center of the
gravity.
Well, what we'd call down.
Yeah.
They say that it's the Earth, the plane that is Earth, that is accelerating upwards at 10 meters per second, and it's being accelerated by dark energy. And now that I'm thinking about it more, if you keep that acceleration up for long enough, you'll be at or exceeding the speed of light eventually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like your velocity will be
basically that makes no sense at all.
It'll be super luminal speed.
Yeah, and you would certainly feel if the Earth was moving at the fucking speed
accelerating.
Of light. Yeah, accelerating.
You wouldn't feel if it was just moving near the speed of light. If it were accelerating, you'd feel something. Yeah. But also the day and night cycle. I think I got this right. It is their explanation for day and night is that it is explained by the sun and moon as spheres that are 32 miles away from the plane of the Earth, moving in 3,000 miles circles above the plane of the Earth. And when they run into objections over lunar eclipses, they say there's something like an anti-moon, which cancels out the light from the sun or some. It's amazing.
They're saying the sun is 32 miles away?
Yes.
32 miles?
32 miles.
You can literally throw up a camera on a balloon and get up farther than 32 miles.
Well, that's not a balloon.
You can get a hot air balloon or some shit like that.
32 miles, and you'd be in outer space.
Okay.
But you know what I'm... Yeah, I see what you're saying. You could build a rocket to go 32 miles away. But that's all part of the conspiracy, man. It's all a conspiracy, man.
32 fucking
It's all
miles.
NASA.
If the sun was 32 miles away, there would be no Earth.
We'd be burnt to a crisp.
Oh my God.
We'd be worse than Venus. Or, right, Venus is the closest to the sun. Or Mercury.
Mercury is the closest. Venus is the hottest.
We'd be like Mercury. We'd be a barren ball of rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's crazy because somehow this is making a comeback as like popular belief. Flat Earth. Vinny, take it away. Yeah, I didn't really know that there were still people who kind of
there's like a lot of celebrities coming out now about how they believe in flat Earth. There's NBA players.
Well, okay, Shaq. I looked into Shaq. He was just joking. I think. Fairly
okay.
certain.
There was another NBA player.
Sure.
Let me find him.
Dennis Rodman, probably. Dennis Rodman, while he was en route to Pyongyang.
Okay. Kyrie Irving, who is one of the best NBA players of all time, by the way.
Current or former?
Current.
Okay.
And he was actually in a movie called Uncle Drew, which was a very recent movie. It was like a basketball movie. I actually just watched it yesterday. It was actually a really good movie.
Okay.
And he was in that. But he had a very clear flat Earth sentiment. And there's actually a New York Times article on it. It says, Kyrie Irving doesn't know if the Earth is round or flat. He does want to discuss it. So, yeah. I mean, so you have an NBA player, very well-known, that is a flat earther.
And this rapper, I guess, named B.O.B.?
B.O.B., yes, is another famous flat earther who had the song Airplanes years back with Hayley Williams, I believe her name is, and it was a worldwide fucking hit song. And then he had a whole Twitter rant about how he's a flat earther and whatnot. So let's see, who else do we know that's a flat earther? Let's see.
There was this
six celebrities who honestly believe the Earth is flat. Kyrie Irving is one. Let's see. B.O.B. Yes. Tila Tequila.
God.
So she's a celebrity, I guess.
Is she relevant anymore?
I don't know. Freddie Flintoff.
No, don't know who that is.
He's a famous cricketer in the UK.
All right, it's still, who gives a shit? It's fucking cricket. Any Australian friends who might hear this of mine, ignore what I said. I would like not to be banned from your country.
But yeah, so there are famous people who have said or believed previously or do believe in the flat Earth theory.
Yeah, and they have conventions. They sell out, like
amphitheaters,
the fucking Hyatt or a Marriott at least in attendance.
Wow.
And there was this YouTuber. We're gonna have to stop just deriding him and probably explain why they're wrong. Wow, a conspiracy theory we can actually refute all on our own. Huzzah. Anyways, there's this guy who brought a level, right? Like a thing with a bubble in it. Yeah, he brought it on a flight. Recorded about half an hour of just a camera shot of the level, saying since the bubble never moved, they never followed any kind of curvature of the Earth. They just went flat.
Okay.
That's it. Do you see any problems with that whatsoever? Because I do.
Wait, so
he took a level, like a handheld, like something you'd find in your garage, right?
Yeah.
Took it on a flight and said since the bubble in the level never moved, he kept it flat on his tray, right, while they were, at flying altitude. He said since the bubble never moved, they went flat the entire way.
Well, how long was the flight?
It doesn't matter. He recorded it for long enough to where they had traveled, several, he recorded for half an hour. Plane speed is, 500 miles an hour? 500 miles, yeah. Something like that. So he traveled, 250 miles. Probably closer to 200. And he said, since the bubble in the level never moved while the plane was following the Earth, right? So they're not, turning, they're just going in a straight line. Since that is evidence that the Earth is flat.
So, I mean, is there a video of this?
He's a YouTuber.
What's his name?
He's got a video. His name is D Marble. I don't want to find the video right now because, like I said, it's like 20 minutes.
Okay.
I think something like that. But
so, what's the biggest issue with that then?
Well, you mean why that does not indicate that the Earth is flat? Well, because gravity. So I can't believe I have to say the theory of gravity. But
it technically is a theory, yes.
Sure,
but
fine. But gravity, right?
Yeah.
If you take the model that Earth is a sphere, gravity it's not exactly spherical. It's kind of squashed. If you're thinking like it's kind of squashed down into the core from the poles, but whatever. Just take it as a perfect sphere. That means that at every point on the surface of the Earth, gravity is, or whatever constant altitude above the surface of the Earth, gravity is constant at that point, and it's always pointing down. So if you're on a plane and you're a passenger in that plane, and you have the level on the tray table, the bottom of that tray table is pointing down into the core of the Earth.
Yes.
And so are the forces that determine the positioning of the bubble in that level.
Oh,
which just means that it's under constant force, right?
Yeah.
Assuming the plane isn't turning or rising in altitude or nose diving or whatever.
Okay, so basically it's not changing because
it's under constant acceleration
because the pull of
inward.
Gravity directed inward constantly.
Okay, it's not. Well, it's downwards. Its acceleration directed towards the Earth will always be constant if you're at a constant altitude.
Okay.
Other forces might, whatever, depending on how you turn or raise or lower in altitude, other forces might change.
So that's why even when you're following the curvature of the Earth in a plane,
the bubble won't move.
Yeah.
Because that's what a level does.
Because the forces are still identical.
The force was still constant.
Yeah.
Directed down into the Earth.
Yeah.
Due to gravity. For the entire journey.
Okay.
That you're not, landing or taking off. Yeah. Yeah. Or increasing speed. And this is how it ties into what we were talking about last episode, is that the reason for this whole flat Earth stuff is that it's based on a different kind of teleological system. So I'd have to find, should I find the exact definition? Yeah, I should. Should probably be accurate about what I'm saying. Teleology. The explanation of phenomena in terms of the purpose they serve rather than the cause by which they arise. Yeah, that's right. So an explanation for something in function of its end, purpose, or goal. So we arrive at, you get to gravity and you get to the idea that the Earth is round, right? Spherical, via the scientific method of some kind, right? I mean, people, at first you have to, I'm trying to see how to phrase this. So you get to gravity and you get to the Earth being round through the scientific method. You get to flat Earth through what is called the zetetic method. And I think this is straight from the source. What flat earthers would cite, and what the guy who I said earlier did the Bedford level experiment. This is the kind of deductive reasoning that he ascribed to. And they have a paragraph that it's kind of explains it better than I could. They have this is from wiki.fts, that is wiki.ftes.org/zeticism. And the paragraph reads, or at least a section from it reads, for example, in questioning the shape of the Earth, the zetetic does not make a hypothesis suggesting that the Earth is round or flat and then proceed testing that hypothesis. He skips that step and devises an experiment that will determine the shape of the Earth and bases his conclusion on the result of that experiment. So, right, whereas in the scientific method, generally speaking, you have a model and then you go and test it, the zetetic model is saying just devise a way somehow to determine the shape of the Earth without having an idea of what it might be. That's the supposedly what they follow in convincing themselves that the Earth is flat.
Basically, not having a hypothesis, really.
Yeah, and basing your conclusions from observations, unfiltered observations, if you want to go that far.
Yeah.
I can still see that boat at the end of the canal 6 miles away. There must be no other explanation because obviously my sight isn't fooling me. Yeah. Ruling out any kind of other phenomena like the fact that the light might be refracting off the atmosphere of the Earth.
Basically, it's just skepticism, essentially. It's basically what it is. It's like a form of skepticism.
Well, it's skepticism influenced, I guess, because you're not the idea. I guess the idea is that having a model of how something should work before you've determined that's how it works would kind of bias you. And you know what? Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I do remember I think it was in biology class, high school, it stopped being required that before we do an experiment that we'd write out a hypothesis.
Yeah.
It was just, okay, here's the means by which you can determine what the answer might be.
Yeah.
And if you get these results, here's what, you draw your conclusions then, but don't have some preconceived notion of what the answer might be.
Yeah.
I can kind of see the benefit in this.
I guess to eliminate bias, but the whole thing is, and we also talked about this, you can never eliminate bias.
Yeah, and
you can reduce it to an extent,
but this seems to be reducing it.
You cannot eliminate it.
This is kind of going to sound weird, but this seems to be reducing it too far. Right? You need to have some guess as to what the answer might be before you actually go looking for the answer.
Well, see, I don't think they're reducing it.
You don't want to believe in that as if it's gospel, as if you've already found the answer.
Yeah.
But you want to have something to base your observations on. Like, okay, maybe my hypothesis was that the Earth is shaped like a box, right? But then I go around the Earth, right? I start in London, I go through to New York, LA, Tokyo, Beijing, whatever, Cairo, and I arrive back in London going in a full circle.
Yeah.
And I can base my observations on the fact that I can always determine, when the sun, where the sun is rising or whatever, but I end up following a path that more closely matches that of a sphere than that of a box.
Yeah.
Now, if I didn't have a hypothesis beforehand, I could still come up with some explanation, right? I could do some backbending. I could do some mental gymnastics to kind of explain away the fact that it seems more likely that I went in a circular path. But if you have the hypothesis that the Earth is a box, and then it turns out that none of your observations match that, you kind of have to throw out the idea that the Earth is a box, rather than doing all this mental gymnastics to get your original idea to work. I kind of lost what I was saying there. To make something, I don't know, how am I trying to think about this? It's almost like this, right? So take like the atoms and the subatomic world was first discovered and researched. Mm-hmm. At first, it was someone, I forget who, but someone had this idea that it was all just a one big glob. Right? They call it something pudding, raisin pudding or something like that. Right? So you have this solid mass for every atom, and inside of it would be mixed in, right? Like the raisins in a pudding. The electrons and the protons and the neutrons, but it was all part of this glob. But then, I think his name was Rutherford, or something like that. I'm sure if my physics professor listens to this, he's gonna fucking give me an earful later. But I think the guy's name was Rutherford. They did an experiment with gold foil. So gold has a lot of protons and neutrons, and a lot of electrons. Yeah, a lot of electrons as a result. And so what he did was he fired some kind of electromagnetic radiation through these, or actually it was some kind of atom. It wasn't gamma rays. Some kind of radiation, alpha particles, maybe. So kind of like the husk of a helium atom. He fired them through, and was surprised to find that on the other end, he got some of them. He got a lot of them back, most of them back, and that's because there's a lot of empty space between the nucleus, right? So the concentration of concentration of protons and neutrons of one atom, and the protons and neutrons of another atom, and they're separated by the electron cloud. So then they refined the model to where it was like a series of orbitals, right? So like kind of like you'd have the planets revolving around the sun, you'd have electrons revolving around this core of protons and neutrons. You know, where most of the mass of the atom is. But then even that became kind of too simplistic of a model, because this was before you had fully developed the theory of quantum mechanics. So once you develop the theory of quantum mechanics, you throw away the orbitals and you just say, okay, we can treat the nucleus as fairly solid. It also acts like the electrons, but in a much more localized sense than the electrons.
Yeah.
The electrons, they're just in a cloud now, right? And it's all a probability distribution of where they are. I'm sorry if people listening that you feel like I've gone on some kind of tangent, but the point I'm trying to make is that you start off with some rough model, like very, by our standards today, the raisin pudding model is very, not only inaccurate, but also very, roughly hewn. And then you chip away at the outsides of it, and you do experiments on it, and you keep refining and refining, instead of just starting out, like making these observations, right, as this zetetic method does, and then trying to come up with some convenient explanation that explains your observations without all that much rigor on testing out whether or not there might be some other explanations to your observations.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of imagine it like the scientific method is saying, like, okay, we got this block of marble, and Michelangelo's David is inside.
Yeah.
Right? You can see it, right? No? Okay, well, let's keep chipping away at it. And chipping away at it, and refining it here, throwing out some pieces there until you actually have a full statue.
Well, yeah. See now that's like,
and that to me is what the scientific method is.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to characterize this zetetic method other than relying on your instinct and intuition to determine reality.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of actually subjecting it to something more rigorous. Yeah, so that's my rant. And that's kind of why this flat earth stuff really falls away, collapses in on itself at the core. And then you get into all the stuff about it being a conspiracy from NASA or the CIA, and they're all just trying to lie to you for some nefarious end, which is never all too clear. And it's too much. The one about, going back to the beginning, the one about, they're turning the frogs gay. The thing about the government trying to manipulate the population by some chemical means it's not just that it's not unheard of.
Why?
Huh?
Why?
Why what?
Why would they do that?
To control the population? Why wouldn't they? To make it easier to control people. Which is the point of a government to a certain extent. It's a point of a tyrannical government, but so obviously some people had enough of this idea to think that it might be a good idea to develop a quote-unquote gay bomb, right, to turn enemies into non-combatants. So why not use this on population control in your own country? So whereas that idea at least has some plausibility to it. Not only is the flat Earth thing completely conspiratorial in nature, but it also seems like it doesn't even offer any kind of extension of practicality, right? You can't calculate getting to the moon using flat Earth theory. You can't calculate how to navigate a plane among many other planes, right? If you suddenly said, okay, guys, we're going to base GPS on the idea that the Earth is flat. Okay, time for planes to start falling out of the sky.
Yeah. How do they explain satellites, though?
Dude, it's the same. I think it's in the same way they explain the moon and the sun, or that there's not even satellites up in the sky. and that it's some other level of conspiracy, and it's all a hoax.
See, like, you have two different...
And I'm getting tired of talking right now.
Like, you have, like, two different kinds of conspiracy theories. You have the ones that, you know, have, like, a decent amount of truth to them, but, like, the other part of it is, like, we don't know. Like, we don't know for sure.
Yeah, I don't know, and I know you don't know, and you know you don't know.
Yeah, but then you have other conspiracy theories, which are just like...
It's just a complete mistrust of centralized authority, which I can agree.
And there's like no real like foundation. There's no like, you know, there's no truth to any of it. They're like where are you pulling this from? Like,
well, none of this their truth, in a manner of speaking, comes from the idea that the U.S. government, or any centralized government for that matter, is oppressive or not to be trusted.
Why would the U.S. government want to hide the fact that the Earth is fucking round?
To keep you down, man.
That makes no sense. NASA has no fucking motive to hide the fact that.
According to you, ask a flat earther. I'm sure they could. I'm sure they could at least ramble off, 5 or 10.
Okay.
I can't because
quickly.
It's really difficult for me to do.
We should also mention that this kind of lends itself to the moon landing conspiracy.
Yeah, that as well. Yeah.
So like the fact that some people think that like the moon landing was literally just like a set, like in Hollywood.
In terms of believability, that one is more believable than the flat Earth.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Because we're talking about motive. The U.S. government
had a motive.
Had a lot of motive. Did it happen? Yeah, it happened. Come on, it's not that crazy a leap.
Well, yeah, because we've also had other countries, and other people go to the moon.
Yeah, like there's, I mean, you really got to ask yourself: would Russia really and China and I don't know what other countries have been to the moon or outer space? Probably India. Why would they all get into this dick measuring contest over nothing?
Yeah.
Like, if everyone knew it was a hoax, surely some government, somebody somewhere would publish some credible evidence saying, hey, guess what? You know that thing in 1969? Yeah, that was complete bullshit.
Well, then, see, if that was true, that the moon landing was a conspiracy, the Soviets would have a lot of incentive to say, that's bullshit. You didn't actually do that.
Yeah, but instead, what did they do?
They also went there.
They went there. Yeah.
So, I mean, I like... It's more plausible.
And then you just start thinking about all the companies who are sinking billions and billions of dollars into freaking satellites. And it's like
Elon Musk
really
is fucking
it's like
trying to get shit to the moon. And
at some point, you either call their bluff or your argument's done. Like you either call their bluff and you find some evidence that forces them to come clean.
Yeah. Basically, the only
way you're just full of shit.
The only way to convince someone that, like a flat earther, that the Earth is not flat is to literally
fly them to outer space.
Fly them to outer space and show them.
Yeah,
like firsthand, like just show them.
I think we're at 3:00.
Yeah. That was good.
I mean, do we want to close out on anything? I mean, I kind of wanted to just get to the more general, really. I mean, okay, that's not falling over. That's good. What would separate what separates the absolute ridiculousness of the flat earthers from the semi-ridiculousness of Alex Jones?
Well, there's definitely.
By the way, this isn't a full defense of Alex Jones in any way. He's a crazy guy who's done some crazy shit. We're just talking about this one thing.
Yeah.
But something that separates the grain of truth, I guess, the grain of truth presented in they're turning the frogs are gay, or they're turning the frogs gay video.
It's basically because like the Alex Jones, gay frog theory, like does have a foundational, basis of truth to it, and like it's been confirmed by a scientific paper years ago.
Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, he was right in a way.
But they both share this deep skepticism
basically the government. That's what it comes down to. Is a deep skepticism and mistrust of government in general.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's basically what it boils down to.
And the flat earthers and the people who deny the moon landing, and you could even extend it to some even more terrible realms of people who deny stuff like the Holocaust or the Armenian genocide or stuff like that. I'm sure those people would trust some form of power, but they've got to have. Like like the people who deny the Holocaust, right? It's all this conspiracy of the international Jews or something, some shit like that,
or they try to say like it was only 600,000, not
it was only
6 million.
It was only a few hundred here or there. I was actually just listening to Dan Carlin podcast on the Japanese in World War II. You'd have after the fact, you'd have Japanese historians saying, the rape of Nanking, it was only, 100 or so, maybe less than that. And even those deaths that happened were defensible because, they were combatants. Whereas the real fact of the matter is you had, hundreds of thousands of people killed, right? Nanking, one of the largest cities, probably even today, but definitely at the time. These conspiracy theories, what really ties them together, I want to say that it's a kind of
literally in all three of the ones we talked about, it all comes down to a mistrust of the government.
Yeah, but it's more than that. It's like it's an unhealthy amount of skepticism.
Yes,
you know what I mean. Like it's kind of like, I don't know. We know Descartes, right?
Yeah.
And I guess most people would. So like denying that you know anything and just getting down to that bedrock level, assuming everything you know has ever been a lie, and just staying there, just staying at knowing nothing.
Well,
like actually not just like putting on, I guess you could call it intellectual airs of saying, I'm going to be a little humble here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that, I might not know as much as I think I might know, but just really going down to a dark place and just doubting that anything you will ever hear from anybody is true unless you see it yourself.
Yeah.
There's some usefulness to that, I guess, but it doesn't really get you anywhere.
And now we tie into our last episode. Nothing is real. Everything is an illusion. And
nothing in your life matters. Nothing in my life matters. We can all just fuck off.
Nothing is objective, like we talked about. So really, you can't know anything really. Interesting stuff.
All right. We're going to play ourselves out on this clip of Alex Jones for your listening pleasure. But before we do so, thank you for bearing with us. We know that you probably have, if you know anything about any of these conspiracy theories, you're probably thinking to yourself, hey, those guys missed a lot of things. If we did, I don't know, I guess we'll be posting this to YouTube, right? Yeah. Try and leave us a comment of some amount of constructive criticism. I know that's asking a lot. We're this was one night of research for me. I didn't have time for a lot of digging around this week.
Yeah, no, not a lot of super in-depth research, but basically more of just talking about like how we feel about it and everything, and all of that.
Yeah, I think that's where we're gonna end it.
If you're a new listener, just type in Pentagon tested gay bomb on Iraq. They didn't consider using it. They've used it on our troops. In Vietnam, they'd spray PCP on the troops, Jacob's Ladder. You think PCP, some horse tranquilizer, something? They got stuff that'll whack your brain permanently.